I must say I'm very pleased on how the discussion is developing, and I think we are going exactly in the right direction, especially the last interventions where you have clearly come to the conclusion that the challenge we have is the lack of political attention at the highest level of governments. And here I just wanted to make a side remark because Vice President Azaiguliev mentioned that the cooperation between the governmental side of the OSCE and the parliamentary side. The cooperation has never been as good as it is now. You know, we have some members who are on this call. I refer to Ambassador Glover and Strohel. They know how it was tense in the past, the relationship between the OSCE and the ODIHR in particular. But the relationship is excellent. So there is not an issue of OSCE parliamentary side and OSCE governmental side. And that's why actually the parliamentary side here is hosting a debate to address the challenges that the OSCE governmental side has and wants to contribute. And as you've all identified, the challenge we have is indeed the lack of political attention. So as Kari and Fariman mentioned, the issue that you are politicians, so you need to address at a higher level in your own governments to put enough attention to this organization. Now, we have gathered here in this call and in this group that has met already a couple of times now. All those who have served the OSCE, all those who know the OSCE, I said in an informal meeting once, all those who love the OSCE. You have all the Secretary Generals, all the former CIOs, all the former directors. So you have people who know the organization, who know what this organization does. Reference was made before to what the organization does. And I would like to bring you some figures and the paradox that we are, as we are having this call in this very moment, there certainly is some monitor in Donbass who is meeting some people there under also security considerations. Maybe there is an officer in Bishkek speaking to students in Central Asia. There is maybe an officer in Belgrade meeting an authority in its capital talking about the minority rights of Albanians in southern Serbia. Maybe there is a leader in an autonomous institution discussing the issue of dialogue with some countries we have difficulties. So it's not only the field, but it's also the headquarters of the OSCE. There is an ODIHR officer in Bulgaria preparing the ground for the assessment that we will do in this election observation mission in Bulgaria, EU country. So we observe East and West. That's another thing that we have to underline. So there is a lot of work that is being done as we speak in this moment by around 3,000 plus officers of the OSCE, whose budget, and Luca Frattini put it very well, has not been approved yet. And we're not talking about billions, we're talking about 130 plus million, which if you know today's figures that we are discussing with the recovery funds, I mean, 130 million is really very little resources for all this activity that is happening. By the way, of these 3,000, around 530 also got COVID during this year. Let's not forget that one died, but 530 plus, this is the figures of 2 weeks ago, also got COVID during this period, which is quite a high number. So you have so much people who are doing so much work for such a little money. Nobody knows about it. Some ministers, of course, who have issues where the OSCE deals with, they pay attention to the organization, but some others basically leave in total disinterest, this organization. So that's why it's important that we have these initiatives, because we raise political attention from the leaders who are in this call and from the others who are not in these calls but are currently serving the Parliamentary Assembly to engage. And on this issue of the discussion today, I don't want to enter too much in the merit, but of course we know that the consensus rule is something that is kind of a pillar of this organization. It's not going to change. I mean, I don't think the governmental side will ever move into what we have in the Parliamentary Assembly, where we vote by majority and where we can indeed say where there are clear, gross and uncorrected violations. Some members mentioned that sentence. Here in the Parliamentary Assembly, we can say it because we vote by majority. But in the governmental side, it's not going to happen. We know that. But I think we should look into the direction that also Luca Frattini indicated here, some practical and feasible ways, maybe a budget cycle of 2 years, thus indeed allowing the people who work in the organization to have enough resources to do their job and not engaging the participating states in endless discussion in Vienna about the old budget and the new budget. And the idea also of not having to discuss by consensus each and single agenda of each meeting and what, because every meeting we know begins with the chairmanship address, with the Secretary General address, why all of these agendas, which are more or less always the same, need to go through a consensus. So omnibus decision, Luca Frattini said it, probably mille proroghe you have in mind in Italy. In Italy we have this idea of having one law that is all encompassing. So maybe that's also a viable solution. But this is just my little contribution on the consensus rule. But in general, I just wanted to thank everybody who has intervened. I think we're going in the right direction. It's still a little bit, and I can see some members are saying, but what is it that we're doing? Is it still a bit vague? Maybe it is, but we will learn on what we are doing with this process as we go along. And again, Ambassador Zanini, thank you very much for steering the debate, because I think you are touching exactly key issues here. Consensus, dialogue next time will be also very important. So congratulations to all of those who have spoken. Thank you.